After authorizing recall elections against 6 Republicans, the Wisconsin Government Accountability Board took up the petitions against 3 Democrats on Wednesday. The Democrat Party's legal counsel, Jeremy Levinson, pointed to evidence of fraud in the recall petitions and argued the board should not allow the elections against Democrats.
Or because there are just so many pages and signatures rendered defective. However you slice it, yes, we're asking the board to find that the recall is not legally called for.
There is absolutely no legal support under Wisconsin law for these assertions. Since the right of recall was established in the Wisconsin Constitution, no court in Wisconsin has ever held that a recall petition may be rendered invalid based on allegations of fraud by a circulator.
Levinson talked about a Colorado firm that helped organize the recall efforts. He said having a private firm collecting signatures encourages fraud, since circulators are paid for each signature they collect, but he didn't have any actual proof of that occurring.
What we have exposed and the evidence we have collected shows that these efforts are rife with both intentional fraud and carelessness and defects arising from indifference.
Mr. Levinson has not alleged that there's anything unlawful or improper about it, but it's one of those things that it's part of this general narrative, as he describes it, where if they can identify things that make things look suspicious, they can convince this board that there's something that's known as pervasive fraud here. And I would encourage the board to look specifically at the evidence, not the rhetoric, and I don't use that in a disparaging way other than to note that rhetoric and argument does not substitute for credible, direct evidence which this...
Democrats were able to find some problems with some of the petitions. There were cases of the city and street address not matching up. They even found the signature of a man who had been dead for 20 years, but it wasn't enough.
We're not saying that evidence doesn't exist and that it doesn't show something. What it doesn't do is satisfy the clear and convincing evidence.
After arguing Democrats did not have enough evidence to deny recall elections, the Republicans' legal counsel, Eric McLeod, turned the tables on them.
We have clear evidence that Mr. Pocan is deceased and could not have signed that petition. There's no doubt about that. But there's no direct evidence of who put his name on that petition.
Well, you people turn to them, though.
Well, you're correct, and I refer...
And you don't take responsibility for that?
Well, we would take responsibility for that, just as the other side should take responsibility for turning in a petition certified by a circulator of the name Adolf Hitler.
In the end, the GAB sided with Republicans and authorized the recall elections of all 3 Democrats.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
The elections will take place on July 19th, but if there is a primary, the elections will be pushed back to August 16th. For the McIver Institute, I'm Bill Osmolsky.